This is murder. And you know what? I already forgive this person. Already. God takes care of things. God's going to take care of me.
I mean, it just shows, like, when your faith is such the bedrock of your life that within hours of your son passing away, one of the first things is like, I already forgive him. How? A horrific crime last week has gone viral across social media, sparking a debate about race and culture. And in the midst of this heartbreaking story, there was an unfathomable current of compassion from the victim's family. So I just want to unpack all of this today and kind of tell you guys what has been going on. Last Wednesday, 17-year-old Austin Metcalf, a high school junior, was murdered at his track meet in Frisco, Texas. Carmelo Anthony, a 17-year-old from a competing high school, stabbed Austin in the chest, and Austin died in his twin brother's arms.
There was this kid, before I knew his name now, this kid was sitting under our tent at track. We asked him to move. He started getting aggressive and talking reckless. And my brother stepped in and said, you need to move. He's like, make me move. Austin grabbed his backpack. The kid, I tried to whip around as fast as I could, but I didn't see the stab. But then I look at my brother, and then I'm not going to talk about the rest. So yeah. That's just what I saw.
The story itself is just unfathomable, especially that with his twin brother. I mean, I can't even imagine. And then Carmelo just ran away like a coward. And he was found a few minutes later by police, where he admitted to the stabbing on the spot. And then he asked police if Austin was okay, which then he followed by saying that Austin came on to him first, so can what he did be considered self-defense? Apparently, he asked the police right there in that moment. Even if Austin had picked a fight with him, which there is no current evidence of that ever having happened, a fist fight doesn't justify pulling out a knife and stabbing it in someone's chest. The idea that self-defense was even being discussed, I mean, it makes sense from a coward who quickly tried to save himself and paint a different picture. Bringing a knife to a track meet alone, right there, just takes self-defense out the window. Getting into an altercation in the middle of the bleachers, packed with parents, under the team tent. He was not in danger for his life, and it's a disgusting way to find an excuse to get out of what he did. And like clockwork, after the initial reports of the story came out, the Anthony family posted a Give, Send, Go and claimed that very story of self-defense, and then asked the public to give to their son's defense fund. All while the Metcalf family was worrying about funeral costs. And to the horror of everyone, or at least a lot of people, the Anthonys were successfully raising funds. A lot of money. And this is all within a week of this crime happening. Like, people don't even fully know the details yet. The goal originally was $100K, and then apparently when they were nearing that $100K mark, the Anthony family bumped it to $150. So then they kept raising it, and now it looks like they've bumped it again to $200,000 because it's at $162 right now as of the time of this episode. $162,000 to a man who just last week went up to police and admitted to a stabbing of a kid on the bleachers that was currently dying. That's the facts. I don't have to say an allegedly in that moment because that is what happened. He did go to police and say that, and that kid did die. But thousands and thousands of people giving him a bunch of money. And they are successfully doing so because they are perpetuating a narrative in which Carmelo was actually the victim of bullying. And Austin attacked him, so he pulled out a knife, again, at a track meet, and stabbed him in the heart to protect himself. And the second that the word bullying was even thrown into this mix, again, even though it has not been confirmed by literally anyone besides the alleged murderer. I hate saying alleged right there, but again, he has not been convicted yet, even though he admitted to it. But anyways, one woman, and this was many of these, under the Give, Send, Go, said, let's get this baby home. I have a young black son as well, and I live in Collin County. This baby was bullied and was defending himself. I know it's more to this story. I'm praying for you and your family. Please let me know how else I can help. And sent $1,000. That baby just killed another person's baby. In cold blood, broad daylight, on the bleachers, surrounded by parents. Are you kidding me? I cannot fathom giving $1,000 to someone who just admitted to murder. One person on X said, call me old-fashioned, but when someone purposely invades someone else's space with a knife in your possession, and when asked to leave, your first response is to say, touch me and see what happens, then stab the person to death, the self-defense plea feels a tad flimsy. His own defense attorney hasn't even officially established the plea of self-defense yet. He said he thinks it could work, but he doesn't know all the details. And yet thousands of people are believing rumors and pretending that that justifies murder. Bullying that, again, no one is even saying existed is a justification of murder. They're also trying to paint him as a bully who has been bullying Carmelo a lot, many, many years before this. And then his brother came out and said, we didn't even know this guy. We never met him. I saw one TikTok posted from one of these students or people who were in the bleachers and found a few comments that kind of helped to paint the scene of what Austin's brother was saying. But here's that video. It's just a live photo and it says, crazy how a few moments after this, a life was taken. And at the end of this video, you can kind of see the tent right there, the yellow one in the back. And I believe that's where the stabbing took place, or right kind of behind that. A packed stadium at a district track meet. And Austin was one of the athletes where they sit under the tent. Carmelo was not. One woman who was there apparently commented under that and said, we were there with our son. No one touched him, moved a backpack. No phone was broken. He lunged after being asked to move, said, make me. Austin moved the backpack. Can't wait to testify. Austin didn't break anyone's phone. He didn't throw any punches. He asked the guy to move and chucked his backpack. But then someone commented under and said, if only he didn't touch his stuff and got an adult or an official involved, then he'd still be around. I saw a lot of those takes, especially in defense of Carmelo. Well, you're not allowed to touch other people's stuff. I couldn't get over that. They're 17-year-old men. They can have a dialogue and a conversation and not expect that you need an adult to handle every single little issue that's going on. I saw so many people just being like, well, he should have got an adult. His fault. I could not believe the stuff people were saying. They're not 5 years old and need a teacher to solve their problems. They're basically grown men. And also, boys from the dawn of time have been getting in altercations or fighting and getting mad at each other, especially a sporting event or whatever. And it doesn't escalate to violence of this caliber. Not even close. Why did he have a knife? Now, right now, that TikTok was the closest thing I could get to a firsthand witness or account other than what the brother had said in the news. But still, there's no evidence of the bullying. Again, not that that would justify a murder, but I just want to make that clear. Under other videos about all this, someone else commented and said, them twins not innocent. No, it shouldn't have resulted in murder. Every action has a reaction. Why are we even attempting to defend? That reads like a defense. Well, they're not innocent. What are you? Gosh. It just is so infuriating. Someone else said he grabbed the dude's stuff, pushed him, and then punched him, and people defending that behavior. First of all, again, he didn't do that. And second of all, people like you are defending the behavior that then would have come next. It's wild. Now, a New York Post article kind of gave a timeline of events and what was said. And in it, Carmelo apparently said, I was protecting myself. Anthony allegedly told cops. He put his hands on me. Anthony's father told the Post this week that his son was provoked. He was not the aggressor. He was not the one who started it, Andrew Anthony said. Everyone has already made their assumptions about my son, but he's not what they're making him out to be, adding that his son is an A student who works 2 jobs. I could care less what grades he gets or how many jobs he works. We're not making assumptions about your son. We're looking at the evidence. We're looking at the facts and coming up with clear thoughts based on that. Carmelo's family is claiming victim status and raking in hundreds of thousands of dollars in their son's self-defense case. Are they really saying anything of how horrified they are by their son's behavior? No, I haven't seen any of that. But in stark contrast to that behavior, Austin's family is already talking about forgiveness, talking about praying for the other family. When I saw that, I wanted to highlight that part of this story because there is a huge race debate that is happening online, a cultural debate, much of which I think are valid things to discuss and get into. It is all over social media right now, but this whole story was just so heavy and disheartening that I was just trying to look for any glimmer of light maybe to share with you guys about this case, and this is what I saw. So first of all, I noticed that Austin's dad, a mere few days after the murder, talked about forgiving Carmelo. So here's Austin's father talking.
They were twins, identical twins. And his brother was holding on to him, trying to make it stop bleeding. And he died in his brother's arms. I'm not trying to judge, but what kind of parents did this child have? What was he taught?
A great question. And one of many that is currently raging on social media.
This is like the same pattern as the track runner.
100%. As soon as I heard this, I was like, this sounds like that story. That girl just bashed a girl in the head. This guy freaking stabbed someone in the heart.
And the family immediately comes out and says it was an accident,
self-defense.
self-defense.
It was self-defense. Yeah. Accountability. Start there. Where's the accountability? And why are they not being taught to then be accountable? I mean, there's so much of this goes back to the family and the way people are raised. And that's a huge part here. And what I wanted to focus on, because these parents and his parents are acting vastly differently in this situation. And it just stands out.
You know what? I already forgive this person. Already. God takes care of things. God's going to take care of me. God's going to take care of my family.
Just to kind of clarify here, this was actually, I believe, the day of the murder. And somehow the father was already saying that.
Powerful.
Yeah. I mean, it just shows like when your faith is such the bedrock of your life that within hours of your son passing away, one of the first things is like, I already forgive him. How? It stands out so much that I saw a lot of people almost disgusted by it because it seems so hard to even wrap your brain around. I myself, as a Christian, am still like, but how? But God, I don't know. It's like you can't really describe it, I guess. Then you see people in these situations and it's like, wow.
What does it take for me to be like that?
Yeah. Yeah, what kind of faith is that? There's just a lesson in that. That's why I wanted to talk about this family. Because that kind of faith is, you don't see that very often. You really don't. And then there's a video of his brother, who again was the one holding him, saying that he's praying for the Anthony family. And he's not forgiving yet by any means. He said he's not like his dad, he's not there, but he's praying for the family. Here's a clip of his brother talking.
I'm not at that point to forgive and forget, but eventually I will. But I pray for his family. I pray that they understand what we're going through as well.
This whole community has really wrapped their arms around us. And if I could say anything to the nation, I would say to make sure that you just hug your babies tight. Because you don't know when the last time you get to do it.
He could say anything right there. I think that's why that stood out to me. He could be angry. He could say whatever he wanted, and it would be totally justified. It would make total sense to sit there in an interview and be angry and scream at that family and scream at Carmelo and talk about how much he hates him. But that's what he chooses to say. I'm praying for his family. Again, it's an unfathomable kind of like grace here that stood out to me above all the other things that's being discussed. And that's why I wanted to share it with you guys, because I just think it's so powerful. That, folks, is faith. And that is a family who believes in something far greater and bigger than even the horrific circumstances that they currently face. It is an unfathomable kind of spirit. You know, they talked about how Austin was someone of faith. They mentioned earlier in the news clip. But then there's other people trying to paint him as some vicious bully and try to just paint a completely different picture of his family and of him as a person. But you watch stuff like this, and that's proof of exactly what the truth was. That's why I wanted to show this. Who was Austin? Because no one's talking about him anymore. And I think that it's important to point out just this family. It's the detail in all of this that kind of just stood out the brightest in so much darkness. And then I came across a tweet from Austin himself. It was his last one ever posted on X. And I thought it was a fitting way to end this episode and to kind of share his voice. But he said, "Faith that God got me and my work will pay off." And while a lot of us read that and say, why God? Like, why? We don't get to know that right now. But what we can do is come together and pray for this family and support this family. They do have a GoFundMe also, which I will put the link in the bio to that one because they do need the help. But one of the things that Austin's mom said that she wanted the whole world to know was to just go home, hug your family extra tight. And so that is what I will leave us with today. Make sure you text your family, tell them you love them, and give them a hug. Thanks so much for watching today's episode. If you want more content like this, make sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video if you enjoyed it. And last but not least, if you want more content, you can also follow me on my personal pages as well as our new comment section Instagram. See you guys in the comments.